back to our channel, and we are joined by the lovely Sarah again, author of the book Who Cares?
Lovely, thanks Charlotte.
That's all right. So Sarah's kindly going to be talking to us a bit about grief as a carer, and she's also going to be giving some tips that helped her create a more positive mindset through and after the grief, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, it's a difficult one because when you're caring for a loved one, you're too busy looking after them, obviously you forget to look after yourself, but there are other things that are going on underneath the surface, really. So for example, I mean, every carer is unique and the person they care for. But say for example, I was caring for my husband who had a brain tumour and he slowly deteriorated over those years. So grief came up in a number of ways for myself and for him, actually. So for me, as Neil deteriorated, he had a stroke, he wasn't able to speak, he was bedbound. I was grieving for the loss of what he was like before. He was this big, gregarious, 6'4", rugby player type, you know, chap, very cheeky, and he was just reduced almost to a body in a bed, really, I would describe it. So in seeing the photos from, you know, years ago, us having a great time, and then suddenly seeing him how he was there, I was grieving in many ways for that, and he was grieving for all that he had lost, and almost I would say he would have been grieving because he's now a burden on his wife, which is tragic and awful. So that's what makes caring so notoriously difficult, and people, even close friends and family, don't really understand what you're going through if there's that kind of grief. But also there's the other grief, Charlotte, of, you know, I know that Neil was going to go at some stage, and I was grieving, waiting for that to happen, and the amount of times Neil went into hospital and back again in A&E and back out, I was thinking, is this it, is this it, is that, you know, you kind of working yourself up into a frenzy, worrying and grieving, but you're doing it quietly and you're suppressing it because you don't want to burden him, I don't want to worry him. So there's a lot of grief going on for carers. It depends on if that person is going to be going, they have, you know, limited time. But for some of us, of course, if it's mental health problems or you're caring for a child, they're going to be around for years, they're not going, but you're still grieving for that loss.
And I think that's really interesting, because I'd not seen grief until Sarah and I were corresponding by email about what we were going to talk about. And when Sarah mentioned about grief before her husband had gone, I hadn't actually thought of that sort of part of it. No. So it's really interesting that you say that, and I think obviously you knew at some point that Neil wasn't going to be here anymore, but as a mental health carer, you can have your own grief in the fact that, you know, you don't know you know, how long your loved one's going to be around anyway, but it's having, that grief of what was. And I'd never put that as grief before. Yes, so that's actually really interesting.
It is that loss, you know, that we're going through, which makes it difficult. And I would say on tips on that is confiding into your close friends and family, people who've got a lot of empathy and compassion. Not all friends and family have the empathy and compassion that you need. Those that you can really kind of hang out with and be really honest. Another way to do it is journal. It's something I do. I know of other carers that do it, told me about it, actually just writing in a pad your thoughts, your feelings, getting them out onto paper so they're not just swirling around in your head. Really, really good. And be kind to yourself.
Yeah, I think being kind to yourself is definitely important, and being aware, not suppressing your feelings. I know you've said that a lot, that you'd done that, and I think that's really important. I think at some point we're probably all going to do it knowingly or not, but it's getting to a point where you try not to do that, and finding people who you trust and can confide in.
That's the key. But I think when you've got a really close friend, having a glass of wine and just being really honest, just saying, I just really want to talk this through, and even you could do it on the phone or Zoom call or something like that, but get it out. Don't just swallow it, just kind of like chat to your friends, because a problem shared is a problem halved.
Absolutely. And then just touching on grief after Neil passed, is there any specific tips that you can give that made it any easier? Possibly not, but
time is a healer, maybe. Grief is different for a lot of people. I know there's like something like the 7 stages of grief or something like that. For me, I was still shocked when Neil passed. I wasn't expecting him to be gone on that Saturday night. Taking him to the rugby that day with my mum and dad, we were having a great time, and he had a stroke as soon as we hoisted him back into bed. and he died that night. I was still shocked when he went. I still was. You're still not 100% prepared. But although I was very upset, I actually said thank you as he passed, because he'd been suffering for too long, and we'd both been suffering, and I didn't want him to suffer anymore. And we're not all here forever anyway. So it's kind of how we deal with that. And for me, I came home, it was time to sit down and rest and actually take stock of everything that's been going on over those 13 years. You know, having quiet time, reflection, really taking care of yourself, self-love, being really kind to yourself, having time out and being really honest, as in if you need time away or time out, being honest with friends and family, and noticing that, be kind to you. And I felt like I could sit down for that week, actually, because I didn't want to be Neil's carer for the rest of my life either. I'm just going to be honest with you. As much as I love Neil immensely, I really did. But I didn't want to be a carer into my 70s, 80s, 90s either, you know. I also wanted some life left back for me once he may be gone. So then you kind of feel guilty as a carer as that as well, which is quite, you know, man, damned if you do, damned if you don't, really. But all you can do is your best, give your love, your support, but also give yourself that love and that compassion that you need as well, especially during grieving times.
So a lot of it's about time, taking time, allowing that time, being kind to yourself,
reflecting, hanging out with good friends and family. I went on holiday straight after, actually, because it was already booked with friends to Barbados, weirdly, for a friend's 50th. And they said, are you going to come? I said, yeah, too damn right I am. I said, I could do with some sand between my toes after everything that's gone on, so don't feel guilty. A lot of people do. I remember my aunt feeling guilty and think, oh no, I'll never have a boyfriend or anything after that. I think, no, your life is here and now. Live your life and enjoy it. Don't feel guilty. You know, have fun. Find enjoyment. They would want you to. I know that. You know, you deserve, if you've been caring for years, you deserve to have fun, enjoyment, and give yourself permission to do that. Yeah, it's really important.
Oh, I think there's some great tips, and we hope that for anyone watching this video, they can help in some way, at least give you some hope and positivity. So thank you, Sarah.
My pleasure. Thank you, Charlotte.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.